Thank you so much. I'm also going to ask if we could fill in this middle section as much as we can. So if we're going to come in, please fill in this middle section as much as we can. Huh? Yes, please. Thank you, baby. Ah, where was it?
There was one in the basement.
Oh, you went down there?
Yeah.
You the man. Thanks, Eric.
I know,
I knew it was somewhere.
Right hand not here.
I was like, where's
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. We are going to get started. We are approximately 13 minutes past schedule, and we want to ensure that our honoree receives all of his flowers before time elapses. To ensure that, we must be very efficient in terms of our use of time. So, good morning once again to everyone. Welcome to this wonderful Black History event honoring the pioneering legacy of retired New York State Police Staff Inspector John W. Heritage III and the group that I call the Intrepid 10, who sued for fairness. Before moving further, I wish to thank the pastor of this great vineyard that I have been acquainted with for 35 years, Pastor Michael Poindexter. Thank you, sir. I also wish to thank his beautiful bride, Lady Amber, and my brothers and sisters of Macedonia, my brothers and sisters of the New York State Police, both active and retired. Seeing you fills my heart with great joy. To those of you that are watching around the country and the world via live stream, thank you for attending. And a special note of thanks to the Dark Gray and to the New York Trooper Guardians Association. I want to begin because this is a very important event honoring Black history. I am a scholar. I am the Director of Africana Studies at Utica University, an associate professor of history. a retired criminal investigator with the vast majority of his history in Troop G, but probably more importantly, the proud godson of Deacon Heritage and Miss Fannie Heritage. Why this moment in history is important. During World War I in the 1920s, the professional and scholarly activities of W.E.B. Du Bois and Carter G. Woodson symbolized the rise of a new generation of Black historians, supplementing his 1896 study, The Suppression of the African Slave Trade to the United States. W.E.B. Du Bois in 1915 published The Negro, signaling the slow but steady emergence of a university-trained professional in the field of Africana studies and history. It was Carter G. Woodson, however, who would become the most influential. Woodson was educated at Berea College in Kentucky, attended the Sorbonne in Paris, and the University of Chicago in 1908, where he acquired his master's, and then later at Harvard University, where he received his PhD in 1912. Woodson pursued an energetic schedule of professional, promotional, and publishing activities. In rapid succession, he helped to fund the Association for the Study of Negro Life, called ASALA, in 1926, and the Negro History Bulletin in 1933. He also helped to build what we recognize as Black History Month, but back then it was Negro Week. Building upon the research methodology of this expanding historical profession, Woodson and Du Bois developed a more rigorous, systematic, and analytical approach to Black history. They also emphasized the contributions of African Americans to the development of American society, particularly its literary, artistic, and musical traditions. And if you were here earlier, you saw the incredible praise dancers illustrate just that. Woodson expressed this new sentiment in a famous statement about the obligation of Black historians. To be clear, every single one of you sitting here is a historian of Black history. Every single one. And whether or not you write it or tell it, you are a historian of Black history because you live that history every single day. So Woodson said, they must, he argued, save and publish the records of the Negro, that the race may not become a negligible factor in the thought of the world. In short, such studies must highlight the positive side of Black participation in American culture as a means of combating white racist portrayals of African Americans and as a way of instilling racial pride. 100 years ago, he made that statement. Could it be more accurate today? Today's program is an extension of the admonition that Wilson issued. Deacon Heritage is one of 10 signatories who in 1977 advanced the Justice Department complaint alleging racial and gender discrimination within the New York State Police hiring and promotional systems. In 1979, Federal District Court Judge James T. Foley concluded that the NYSP had been guilty on all counts and instituted de jure desegregation under a 50-40-10 plan. 50-40-10 stood as a court-mandated structure to make the state police reflect the very diverse constituency that it serves. This decision set the structural standards for diversity, equity, and inclusion within the NYSP, from which 2 Black superintendents, one that is sitting here, were appointed by 2 different governors and subsequently approved by the New York State Senate. The actions of the Intrepid 10, of which our honoree is one of few surviving members, pushed for a level playing field and opened doors of opportunity through which 4 generations with the NYSP emerged. You will hear from some of them today. I want to begin by introducing Stephen G. James. Superintendent James was appointed Superintendent of the New York State Police on April 4th, 2024, and leads a 6,000 New York State Police sworn member and non-sworn staff. In doing so, he became the second African American to reach the institution's highest rank. He entered state police service in 1987 and has served with the New York State Police for 35 years. Superintendent James served as a trooper, in my opinion, the best rank, up through the rank of First Deputy Superintendent. These ranks encompass various assignments throughout the state, including criminal investigations, field command, and narcotics. He attained a bachelor's degree in psychology from the State University at Albany. I think it has already been said, the greatest institution in the... And he obtained a master's degree in public administration from Marist College. I'm just introducing the folk here. Pamela Sharp, who you will hear from, is the former Director of Equal Opportunity and Diversity Management of the New York State Police. That being said, she is also a history maker. In 1978, Sharp became the first black woman in the history of the New York State Police to enter and successfully complete the basic school. For context, my friends, she was in the same class as our beloved brother and now ancestor, Harry J. Corbett, who on May 27, 2008, became the first African American to reach the highest rank within the New York State Police. In addition to breaking racial and gendered barriers, Sharp was a trailblazer, moving from trooper to technical sergeant to the permanent rank of sergeant, zone sergeant, and staff sergeant. She holds a BA from Canisius College and an MA from Marist College. It should also be noted, she is the author of the History of the New York State Police from 1917 to 1987. Jacqueline Salvatore, my very good friend and sister. On January 3rd, 2026 in Hudson, New York, Sheriff Salvatore made history as the first black woman sworn in as Sheriff of Columbia County. Sister, you will forgive me, I'm going off of the... I don't think folks really understand the significance of that, but let me put it into context. We just had Madam Mayor here. For all of you who don't really understand what the pastor was saying, she is the first black mayor in the history of Albany. But the city of Albany is the third oldest city settled by whites in North America. First, St. Augustine in the 16th century, then Quebec, third, Albany in the 1600s. To understand history that is unfolding before your eyes is to understand the time period in which these things are happening. Sheriff Salvatore is the first sheriff elected in New York State history. Salvatore has a long and storied career in law enforcement. She served as undersheriff in Columbia County for 4 years, and before that, 28 years with New York State Police, where she served as a trooper, investigator, senior investigator, and director of the Employee Assistance Program. A graduate of Hudson High School, she attended Columbia Green Community College and obtained an associate's degree in biblical studies from Vision Christian Bible College and Seminary. In breaking the state's racial and gendered barriers to become sheriff in Columbia County and New York State, she not only became a history maker, she instantly became a role model for young people. After receiving the oath of office, Salvatore spoke on the historic significance of this event. She said, "It's difficult for young people, especially for people of color in certain circumstances, to visualize themselves in certain positions if they've not seen anyone who looks like them in those positions before. She said, I realize the importance of that, the historical significance, and along with it, the importance of carrying the title of sheriff in such a way that would make them proud, and the office proud, and everybody else proud. Well, my dear sister, we are proud of you. Trenae Young. On October 25th, 2025, the New York State Police proudly announced Trenae D. Young had risen to the rank of major, making her the first black woman in the agency's 108-year history then, now 109 history today, to be promoted to that rank. She currently serves as the Troop Commander in Troop NYC. Major Young is a native of the BX, Bronx, for those that didn't understand what I was saying. Prior to becoming Major, Young served as captain of the Criminal Bureau of Criminal Investigations for Troop NYC. Among other achievements, Major Young previously served as the leader of the Violent Gang and Narcotics Enforcement Team and the Community Stabilization Unit of Troop K across 4 counties. Young earned her bachelor's degree in political science from Lehman College and a master's degree in criminal justice from John Jay College. In their press announcement, the New York State Police called Young, quote, a testament to the value of education and public service, whose extensive field experience and strong academic background makes her uniquely qualified to lead Troop NYC and inspire the next generation of troopers. Major Young, I fully concur. Before I bring these speakers up, I would now like to ask the pastor of this great vineyard to come forward and give a few words.
Welcome and good afternoon. I had to check my watch there. I've known Deacon Heritage for now 6 years, in year 6, but his reputation preceded my arrival here to Macedonia. As long as I've known, but since I was a little kid, I always wanted to be a cop. Grew up in the Bronx, the boogie down. Didn't necessarily want to be NYPD, but knew I wanted to be in law enforcement. Had a pivotal role in my upbringing, going through the early years of my childhood. And so I took the state trooper exam and worked with a gentleman by the name of Charles Jenkins. Charles Jenkins was a member and is a member of the Mount Calvary Church. And we were both working in the City School District of Albany, and he would always say, you know, you want to be a cop, you got to talk to a gentleman named John Heritage, John Heritage, John Heritage. And I kept saying to him, well, I really want to talk to him, but you got to help me get a hold of him because I don't know how to get to this gentleman named John Heritage. And he went on and on about his storied career and his history and his success. And I was never able to meet Deacon Heritage until November of 2021, when Pastor Emeritus Kamathier called the congregation to vote me in as pastor-elect of this congregation. And the deacon who was leading the charge was Deacon John Heritage. When I heard the name, because coincidentally, I was actually on the outside and all the doors were locked and I couldn't get in. And I said, I don't think they want me. This is not going to work. And when I finally got in and Deacon John Heritage announced the role and the name rang a bell, I said, I've heard this name before. I've heard this name before. And I watched. And it wasn't until about a year or two into my tenure here that it snapped. And I said, that's the John Heritage that Mr. Jenkins was talking about. And I knew it was him, not just by his name, but how he carried himself. That your reputation preceded you before you walked into any room. And everyone who's been able to run through the trails have been able to run through because you blazed them. It has been the honor of my life to be here at Macedonia, but it's been the honor of my life to serve alongside you. We never worry about what's going on. For those who don't know, Deacon Heritage is not retired. He's running our security ministry here at Macedonia. He keeps us all safe. He leads with integrity. He walks in humility, consistently there for every single thing we need. He is the living embodiment of history. We love you here at Macedonia. We love you not for what you've accomplished with the New York State Police, although it is vast. We love you for who you are here at this church. Congratulations to you, Deacon John Heritage.
Pastor, those were beautiful words. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, it's now my extreme honor to introduce to you Superintendent Stephen James to the podium.
Good afternoon. I'd like to start by giving honor to God and to let you know that certainly I'm not here to preach today, but I am here to testify. And that testimony will be on the virtues of the man that we admire, John Heritage. So today we gather to honor a truly remarkable individual in you, Mr. John Heritage, a man whose commitment to public safety and to the people of the state is nothing short of extraordinary. John Heritage has dedicated, and he corrected me earlier, it wasn't over 54, it was over 60 years of his life to law enforcement and public safety collectively. He began his distinguished career with the New York State Police in 1968, rising through the ranks from a young trooper to a respected leader, and ultimately serving as staff inspector in the New York State Police. And throughout those years, John exemplified the value that defined the state police, being courage, being professionalism, and also an unshakable commitment to the public trust. His leadership went far beyond managing the resources and enforcing the law. He mentored countless troopers, and he helped shape their future career, mine included. And he worked tirelessly to strengthen the bond between the state police and the community that we served. And most certainly his efforts helped to make the Troop G area, and indeed the entire New York State Police, stronger, safer, and much more effective. So now, after an already notable career with the state police, John continued his service to public safety as a deputy commissioner with the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Safety Services, and later brought his leadership to the Albany Medical Center, where he served as director and president of security. In every role that he carried with him, the principles of duty and devotion guided him in every step. John, your legacy, it isn't just measured in years and in titles. It is measured in the lives that you've touched, the careers that you've shaped, and the countless New Yorkers who are safer because you answered the call. So it is an honor to recognize your achievements today and thank you for your service. Your work has left an indelible mark on the community and the fabric of public safety throughout this state. So, on behalf of the men and women of the New York State Police, past and present, who benefited from your life of service, we salute you. Thank you for your leadership, and congratulations on an honor well earned. Thank you, John.
Superintendent James, thank you for those wonderful, heartfelt words, which painted a very powerful image of more than 60 years of service. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I now introduce to you Pamela Sharp, the first Black woman to successfully navigate the State Police Basic School, breaking racial and gender barriers, beginning in 1978. Please welcome Pamela Sharp to the podium.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know I've been given a time limit, so I hope I don't get the hook here. But it's difficult to know where to begin. How do you capsulize such a storied and accomplished career? You can't really, but I'm going to do my best. One thing I need to tell you is that the nuances of your career at the state police get lost to history because after you leave, they keep your personnel file there for a few years, and then they send it to the New York State Record Center, where it ultimately gets destroyed. So all those little things that you accomplish and all those things that happen to you along the way, really, if somebody doesn't make a record of it, you just don't know. Anyway, I'm proud to be a member of the state police, and I was grateful for the opportunity to be appointed and to get through the academy. But then I realized that I'm not so unique, because there were a group of troopers, had it not been for their actions, and it's already been stated about the federal lawsuit, hadn't been for their actions, I would not be standing here today celebrating the career of John Heritage. Now, Brother Harris called them the intrepid 10, but they refer to themselves as the original 10. And they were the 10 that came together to push the state police to face and to remedy their discriminatory hiring practice. They forged a path that made my and other appointments to the academy possible. And because things get lost to history, I just want to read the names of those 10, 3 of whom are still with us, including John Heritage. Louis Steverson, Anthony Roberts, George McCullum, Robert Earl, Thomas Hoke, Arthur Taggart, Thomas Whitbeck, Theodore Cook, John Heritage, of course, and Ronald Light. And I'd like to add that in 1932, there was a plane crash, a helicopter crash, and 2 of the state police members on board were killed. And one was Lieutenant Hughes, and one was Theophilus Gaines. Now, at that time, according to records, there were no people of color on the state police. They didn't know that Theophilus Gaines was a person of color until the relatives showed up at the funeral. So he's not in the original 10, but he's there. The New York State Police almost didn't get John Heritage. He was, and I'm saying these things because I'm a student of history and I like to drill down to the particulars that happened in a person's career. They almost didn't get him. He started out as an Erie County deputy sheriff, where he achieved the highest academic average in his class. But when he applied to the New York State Police, they rejected him. And they said, we can't offer you an appointment now, you're not good enough. And why did they reject him? I I know he remembers this. They rejected him because he had 2 speeding tickets some years before. So they told him, come back and apply again, and we'll take another look at you. Well, he persevered, and he did. And they gave him an appointment to the academy, and he went to the academy, not at the academy that's here in Albany. He went to the academy they held in Freehold. And his starting salary was a whopping $6,225. When he was in the academy, during defensive tactics class, that's not what they call it now, he was injured. And this was very close to graduation. And they said he had a fractured neck and that he'd be in traction and what have you, and they didn't know what his prognosis was going to be. But it turned out he only had a sprained neck, and he was in a brace for a week, and he did graduate from the academy at the top of the class. He was he received the award from the superintendent at that time for academic achievement, and he was also elected by his peers as the class representative. He went on to become an investigator, a sergeant, a senior investigator, a lieutenant, captain, major, and staff inspector, which you've heard. Along the way, he received numerous letters of appreciation, and he was commended for his investigations for gambling, narcotics, stolen cars, drowning victims, you name it. He was commended for it. He was also assigned to assist other police agencies outside of the state. He went to Alabama, a black man in Alabama, as a part of their promotional review board. He also served in the same position in the state of Maryland for the Maryland State Police. He also found time while serving other police agencies also to excel in our own department. He served on the committees that develop the lieutenants and sergeants exams. He helped develop the physical agility standards. He was on the minority recruiting team. He helped to administer the trooper candidate exam. And I could go on, but there were so many things that he accomplished, both internally and externally. But just before he, I won't say retired because he didn't, he left to become deputy commissioner of the Department of Criminal Justice Services in the state of New York. But just before he left, there was the Thruway Bridge collapse. And when I say that the bridge literally fell in his lap, it did. And although that bridge goes across the Thruway and it's part of the Thruway Authority, it fell into his area, which was Troop G. And for one whole year, he had to manage the responsibilities not only of the troopers, but traffic and safety of the public, because the bridge was gone, and now, instead of going across the Thruway for drivers to get where they were going, now they had to come through Troop G. He was commended for his excellent handling of that situation because the replacement bridge didn't open until 1988, and this happened in 1987. Now, John Heritage was no angel. Despite all his accomplishments, he had his number of troop car accidents, both preventable and non-preventable. He did receive a letter of censure. I won't say the subject of the letter of censure along the way, but he overcame these things. He persevered through, and he kept just pushing on. and he kept achieving it for the state police. The important thing is that he gave us a roadmap to the possibility of success and achievement in law enforcement and in life. He continued to excel even in the face of personal sacrifice and discrimination, both internal and external. And all I can say to him today is thank you for lighting the path, and God bless you.
Another round of applause for Pamela Sharp. It is now my esteemed honor to bring before you Sheriff Jacqueline Salvatore. Ladies and gentlemen, Sheriff Salvatore.
Good afternoon. I am truly grateful to stand before you today as a testament to God's grace. I carry within me the prayers of so many, and also the determination to continue, if only to prove our deniers wrong. Staff Inspector Heritage's decision to challenge racial and gender discrimination within the New York State Police was hardly just symbolic, it was structural. And it was carried in ways that we can already see and in ways that have yet to come to pass. But one thing we can be absolutely sure of, you are directly and profoundly responsible for the reason we're here today. It is true that nothing ever comes easily, but it is clear that you possess the intestinal fortitude and that extraordinary mark of courage that was necessary to confront the hiring practices, promotions, assignments, and leadership pathways that plagued the system, and acting not just for yourself, but for all of our communities. You forced institutions to examine long-standing patterns that excluded qualified men and women of color from equal opportunity. Confronting background review discretion, promotional scoring, and assignment decisions, you disrupted the status quo. Your efforts helped to create a tangible pathway, indeed a meritocracy, for men and women of color to enter, remain, and rise within the ranks of the New York State Police and law enforcement as a whole. In so many ways, I am an embodiment of your work. I am proudly able to stand before you today as the first Black female sheriff in the 400-plus history of the state of New York. But I also know that I don't exist in a vacuum. I'm gratefully aware that I stand on the shoulders of people like John Heritage and Pamela Sharp, Harry Corbett, Cheryl Johnson, Teddy Cook, and many others. And let's be clear, all of this has come through hard work. Neither I nor any of the other presenters here, we didn't receive anything we didn't earn. But because of trailblazers like you, that pathway was widened before we got to walk it. So I joyfully acknowledge that I am a product of your strength and your tenacity, as are many of us here. And I offer you, we offer you, the most sincere thanks for everything you endured, everything you fought through, and everything you've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff Salvatore, for such incredibly and profound words. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, it is now my esteemed honor to introduce Major Trinae Young.
Good afternoon. Giving honor to God, Reverend Poindexter, and the members of Macedonia Baptist Church, it is truly a blessing to be here today with you this afternoon as we honor the legacy of John Heritage. I recently had the privilege of meeting Mr. Heritage along with his beautiful wife and daughter back in December. His daughter reached out to my office to arrange a Zoom meeting as Mr. Heritage wanted to congratulate me on my recent promotion. I had heard his name before, and I knew he was a retired staff inspector from our agency, so I was deeply humbled that he wanted to take the time to speak with me. We scheduled what was supposed to be a 15-minute call, and let me tell you, it lasted about an hour. It was such a good conversation that I didn't want it to end. My phone was ringing the entire time, and I kept sending people to voicemail, some of whom were my supervisors, but not you, Superintendent James. I would never send you to voicemail. But we talked about everything, his past experiences, the current state of affairs, and most importantly, his joyful life. After we ended the call, I sat at my desk for a while and I thought to myself, how did I not know this man's story? How is it possible that someone who has accomplished so much could only be known to me as a retired staff inspector? I didn't know he was the only Black trooper to respond to the Attica Correctional Facility riot. I didn't know he was the first African-American male to hold the rank of major and later staff inspector. I didn't know he was one of 10 state police members who stood up and advanced a judicial complaint alleging racial and gender discrimination within our agency. And I didn't know that his bravery and sacrifice were part of the reason I was able to achieve the goals I set for myself in my law enforcement career. Now, there is a book that is written on the history of state police, not authored by Pamela Sharp. So I found it and I opened it, and I looked for his name. And that entire book covers the history of the state police from 1917 to the present. And there was only one sentence that spoke about Mr. Heritage. So how is it possible? And then it hit me. My ignorance, because we, as people of color, must do a better job of telling our stories of our history, our people, and our collective accomplishments. Now, mostly this is not our fault. History has shown that often we downplay our successes to avoid being labeled uppity, braggadocious, or even being told to humble ourselves. But from my vantage point, when we don't speak about our history or the achievements of our people, someone else will write that history for us, or worse, pretend that it never happened. A clear example of this is the story of Lewis Howard Latimer. History teaches us that Thomas Edison created the first light bulb. And while that may be true, there is another truth, that Lewis Latimer, a Black man, was instrumental in that creation and provided critical contributions that helped transform how we receive light and power. At a time in this nation when our history is literally being rewritten and erased, we cannot afford to leave our stories untold. The New York State Police did not simply evolve into an agency where I am able to lead others. It was forced there. The courage and unselfish determination of Mr. Heritage and 9 others led to everlasting change within our agency, and that story is worth knowing and repeating. And we have an entire generation of young Black and brown troopers that do not know his name, but they will now. Mr. Heritage, since our conversation, whenever I speak about my own accomplishments, I speak about you. I share pieces of your story, your history, and the impact of your work within this agency that continues to benefit me and others. Because through my newly found understanding of who you are, I know without a doubt that your history is my history and your story is intertwined with mine. May God bless you and your family, Reverend Poindexter, and the members and visitors of this church. Thank you.
Please give another round of applause to Major Young. I just want to explain how we're going to proceed from this point forward. I am going to provide introductory remarks that will bring our honoree to the podium. Once he delivers his remarks, actually, once I finish my introduction, we will see a photo montage of his more than 60-year career. On the last slide, we will bring our honoree up to the podium. After he delivers his presentation, two members from the class of 1981 will present our esteemed honoree with a token of their appreciation. I will deliver closing remarks, and we will give him endless amounts of love. When I think about Deacon John W. Heritage, 1 Peter 4, verses 10 through 11 came to mind. The scripture reminds us that God has given everyone a gift from his great variety of spiritual gifts. He admonishes us to use them well to serve others. Do you have the gift of speaking? If so, then speak as though God himself were speaking through you. Do you have the gift of helping others? If so, do it with all the strength and energy that God supplies. Then everything you do will bring glory to God through Jesus Christ. All glory and power to him forever. Amen. Deacon Heritage, a native from the Cold Springs section located on the east side of Buffalo, New York, and I might add, the best side of Buffalo, is an exemplar of 1 Peter 4, verses 10 through 11. For more than 60 years, this scripture, in my humble opinion, has guided his spirit to serve. While we are here principally to acknowledge the pioneering legacy he shares with 9 other members of a group, and Pamela Sharp, my dear sister, was right, I call them the Intrepid 10. And I do that for a specific reason, because it takes courage to do what they did. So while we're here to acknowledge that, as we have learned, his career didn't start with the New York State Police. As we have heard, it began in 1965 with the Erie County Sheriff's Department, when more than 61 years ago, he was one of a handful of African Americans who quietly pursued careers in public service, while simultaneously challenging racial and gendered barriers that in some cases limited access to opportunity, and in other cases blocked access for people of color and women. Specifically, Northern racism, which had existed since the state of New York ended slavery in July 1827, had been deeply embedded in the broader cultural landscape, especially public institutions, and particularly within the state's law enforcement agencies. During an interview, I asked Deacon Heritage, why law enforcement? His answer, it was a broad field that seized his curiosity as a youngster, but he had no role models. You have to think about that for a second. When he entered in 1968 the basic school of the New York State Police, as we have heard, he encountered the same culture that he navigated successfully in the Erie County Sheriff's Department. And as we have seen in the 11th verse of 1 Peter 4, he persevered barriers in the basic school, which he will tell you about. Persevered barriers as a uniformed trooper in Troop A, worked practically every undercover operation, became an investigator, gained the permanent rank of sergeant, became a senior investigator, and made history as the first black person to reach the permanent rank of lieutenant, where he served as a uniformed lieutenant in Troop A, the first black captain within the Bureau of Criminal Investigations. Again, no role model. He became the captain of BCI in Troop E, the first black to reach the rank of major in Troop G, right here in the Capital District, and the first black staff inspector. As we have heard, after retiring in the 1980s, he went on to become deputy commissioner within New York Criminal Justice Services, where, by no surprise, he served with distinction. In 1995, he left DCJS to become director and later vice president of security at the Albany Medical Center. When he retired in summer of 2019, when I asked why he elected to retire, he said, well, it was time. Plus, I promised Fanny that we would move back to Buffalo once I did. Well, we never did, and I'm still hearing about it. I was like, oop, it's time to go. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to now direct your attention to a slide presentation depicting more than 60 years of service. After the last slide, we will hear from our honoree, Deacon John W. Heritage III, who will deliver an important history about the 10 qualified black men who sued for fairness in order to level the playing field and open the doors through which diversity and greatness emerged for more than 4 generations.
Your life has been out of control. You're confused. But don't worry. Your soul, it will get better. It's gotta get better. It will get better. It's gonna be better. It will get better. 'Cause God is in control, y'all. Hey. Thank you, Lord. Hey. Find the grace within your heart. Hold it close. Don't ever depart. It gets cold in the night, but you'll be alright. Gonna get better. It's gotta get better. It will get better. Gotta get better. It will get better. 'Cause God is in control. Woo. This is the part I love. I find myself being He's in full control. Oh, thank you, Lord. Hey. Gotta get better.
See, it's important to understand that just because God allows things that may not be good to us does not mean that it's not good for us. Yeah. See, a parent fails if the child never learns how to fly. I hope I'm talking to somebody today.
I can feel that it won't be long. I see how my life could have gone wrong. Every time you delay my dreams, you are protecting me. All these are to make me strong. I can see that you have a plan that I won't always understand. Even when I go my own way, you allow my mistakes, but still hold on to my hand.
Thank you.
Oh, that's what real fathers do. I wouldn't expect nothing less from you.
Hey.
See, it's alright to not always understand why. Like you bring tears to your eyes.
Feels good.
God, your ways are better than mine.
Take a look at my heart.
So whatever you see, keep working on me.
I just have one request.
Promise me you'll hold me close. Don't ever let me go. Keep close, don't let
And assist me in honoring and welcoming Deacon Heritage to the podium.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to my pastor, Reverend Poindexter, my friend. God bless you. I love you, Pastor. And thank you to Superintendent James, Major Young, Pam Sharp, Sarah Salvador, and to you, Clemmy. I thank all of you for all those kind words that you said. And I thank all of you for attending. Before I tell you the story of my journey through the New York State Police and my career, I need to thank and give honor to God, who has blessed and kept me all these years. God he's truly good, and he is worthy and he deserves all praises. To my wife, Fanny, thank you for all your love and sacrifices you have made over the years to make this day possible. Our ancestors told their history by word of mouth to those who came after them. And that is what we have gathered here today to do. You honor me today, and I'm grateful. But there are, and some of this may not jive what was told to you before, but as far as I know, You honor me today, and I am grateful, but there are 11 others that deserve to be recognized and remembered. First, there was Lou Mentis, who was the first person of color that we know of, or I know of, to join the New York State Police in the late 1950s. He was stationed in Batavia in western New York and did not remain very long with the state police. His son, Michael, talk about history, his son, Michael, is an usher here at Macedonia Baptist Church. He's not here today, but I want to recognize Mike. In the 60s, 10 individuals of color joined the New York State Police force of 3,500 at that time. We would call ourselves the original 10, which I will talk about later in this presentation. The 10 were Robert Earl, George McCullum, Arthur Taggart, and me, stationed in the western New York area. Robert Earl and George McCullum, who are deceased, were promoted to investigators during their careers. Arthur Taggart, who I believe still resides in the western New York area, retired as a colonel, and I am here before you today. Investigator Louis Steverson, who is deceased, was stationed in the Rochester area. Tony Roberts was stationed in Binghamton area, and as far as I know, still resides there. Tom Hoke and Tim Whitbeck, who both are deceased, were stationed right here in the Capital District. Ted Cook, who retired as a captain, and investigator Ron Lights, both deceased, were stationed in the New York City area. And before I go on, I got to tell you, and I was surprised, that Investigator Light's widow is here today with her son, who was also a trooper, retired. Mrs. Lights, will you please stand and be recognized? They all, in their own way, paved the way for the integration of the New York State Police, and they deserve to be recognized and remembered. What I say today, you will not find in any book. It's factual and being told by word of mouth as our ancestors did. I began my career in law enforcement in 1995 as an Erie County Deputy Sheriff in Buffalo. On November 13, 1967, I joined the New York State Police and went to the academy that was held in Smollinger's Pleasant View Lodge in Cairo. At that time, I was the 9th trooper of color to join the New York State Police. It was there I encountered the first incident of racial prejudice from some members of the state police. As was mentioned by Pam Shelton, during a defensive training tactics, on one of the maneuvers I landed awkwardly on my neck, and I was taken to Albany Medical Center and spent 7 days in tractions. During my stay, several of the waitresses that had been serving our meals at the academy came to visit me. Upon being released from the hospital, I returned to the academy, and to my surprise, during a break, I noticed 4 of my classmates marching around the complex carrying nightsticks on their shoulders. So I asked someone, I said, "What's that all about?" And they said that these 4 had said to the waitresses, because they came to visit me, that they were, they were, using the N-word, lovers. Now, I don't have to say what the N-word was, but we all know it here. We all know what it meant. So that was the punishment that the lieutenant gave them. They had to, during our breaks, they had to walk around the complex with the nightsticks marching around. Upon graduation from the academy, I was awarded the Superintendent Award, which was a 357 Magnum. That was for academic excellence. And I was elected by the class to give the graduation address. That had never happened before. And the major in charge of the academy was asked if they could do that. And he said, if he won them both, he earned them both. So I was honored to give the graduation address at our graduation. Upon graduating from the academy, I was assigned to Troop A in Batavia, New York. And I was assigned to SP Allegheny in the southern part of the state on the Pennsylvania border. This is where I faced my second incident of racial intolerance. One day on patrol, I stopped a young white lady for speeding. And back in those days, when you went to the judge, it was the justice of the peace. And you either went to the house or you found him out in the field farming or whatever. So I had to take her to his house to take care of the speeding ticket. And you went to the house and I introduced myself, Trooper Heritage and so forth, and found this lady speeding. And he gave me a real wet handshake. And he said, okay, Trooper, you can leave. I'll take care of it from here. So I left, went back on patrol. A little while later, I heard, return to the station. I said, oh, what's this all about? So I returned to the station, and there was the desk trooper on the desk. He was laughing. And he said to me, what did you do to the judge? I said, I didn't do nothing to the judge. I said, the lady was speeding, and I took her to the judge to take care of the ticket, and, you know, had to take her. She lived in Pennsylvania, so we had to take care of it there. So he said, well, he called here, and he said, don't ever send that black so-and-so back to my house again. So a little bit later, I learned that the state had sanctioned the judge, and he was no longer a judge there. As I go through this, you may have to forgive me because there may be a few emotional tears as we go through this. On a damp, dank, rainy, and chilly day in September of 1971, I found myself as the only trooper of color at the Attico Correctional Facility uprising. To this day, I still have a vivid memory of the death, chaos, and tear gas, Jackpot 1 and Jackpot 2, being dropped by the state police helicopters, the sound of the 270 rifles, and the sight of the prisoners being poked in their privates as they were forced to run naked through a gauntlet of prison guards and made to lie in the mud in the prison yard. I remember the night before we went into the prison, my roommate said to me, tomorrow you are going to see man's inhumanity to man. In 1972, I was promoted to investigator and assigned to the Drug Enforcement Task Force in New York City. In 1975, along with Art Taggart, I took the sergeant's exam and passed. Subsequently, the PBA filed a lawsuit alleging there had been improprieties with the makeup and administration of the examination. Art and I enlisted the services of a lawyer to assist in fighting the lawsuit, and it was ultimately dismissed in favor of the state. And in 1976, I attained the permanent rank of sergeant and remained an investigator in the BCI. At that time, I was assigned to the Drug Task Force in Buffalo, working out of the DEA office. I was having a conversation with the DEA supervisor about the lawsuit that the PBA filed, and he told me that the then Justice Department was filing lawsuits against state police departments across the country concerning discrimination within the departments. The next day, I called the Justice Department and spoke to one of the lawyers who told me they had been looking into the situation with the New York State Police, but did not have a complainant. My response to her was, "Lady, you have a complainant now." In 1977, the 10 of us met with the Justice Department in Syracuse, where plans were made to file a lawsuit against the New York State Police alleging discriminatory hiring and promotional practices. We would call ourselves the original 10 because we were the only troopers of color out of 3,500 members at that time. We made a vow to stay with the New York State Police for at least the 20 years required for retirement benefits and to do all we could to change the makeup of the state police. During the meeting, there were reservations expressed, such as, would the state police go after us? Would we lose our jobs? Would we be considered conspirators to the organization? And so forth. We were assured that we would be protected by the Justice Department. The lawsuit was subsequently filed here in Albany before Federal District Court Judge James T. Foley on September 8, 1977. We all came and testified about our experiences. The trial lasted for 24 days, and on September 6, 1979, Judge Foley ruled in our favor. On October 19, 1979, the state agreed and entered into an agreement with the Justice Department that required the New York State Police to hire 50% white males, 40% black and Spanish surname males, and 10% female for future recruit classes. Additionally, they were ordered to offer the appointment as a trooper to the brother of Tony Roberts, Timothy Roberts, who had been denied employment as a trooper, to promote Louis Steverson to investigator, and to promote me to senior investigator. In the early 1980s, the 10 of us were summoned to Albany to be part of a minority recruitment team that was being formed under the leadership of David Harris, who at the time was a black captain with the Department of Corrections, and Dr. Maurice Thornton, who was director of affirmative action for the State University of New York. We were teamed up with 10 white troopers and crossed New York State to canvass and recruit minority candidates to take the upcoming exam for New York State Trooper. From that effort came the first female of color to become a New York State Trooper, Pam Shelton. In 1981, after finishing number 2 on the lieutenant's exam, I was promoted to uniform lieutenant, assigned to Troop A, Zone 4, that covered Cattaraugus and Allegheny counties. You know, the ironic part of that was the same area I was assigned to as a recruit trooper, and the judge had made the racial remark about me. During my time as lieutenant, I was assigned to go to Alabama to sit on the oral interview board for a promotional exam of corporal for the Alabama State Police, as they were in the processing of integrating their supervisory ranks. During my time as lieutenant, I was also assigned to division headquarters to assist in making up the promotional exams for sergeant and lieutenant. In 1984, I was appointed BCI captain at Troop E, Canandaigua, And during my time there, I was again detailed to the Alabama State Police, this time to sit on the oral interview board for the position of sergeant. Before I left to return home, I was invited and had lunch with then Governor George Wallace. The same George Wallace who had stood in the doors of the University of Alabama to prevent the enrollment of black students. In 1987, I was promoted to staff inspector, and in 1989, I resigned from the New York State Police and was appointed Deputy Commissioner of the Bureau for Municipal Police by then Governor Mario Cuomo. In that position, I oversaw the training and registration of police officers in the state. I was also instrumental in bringing the Drug Abuse Resistance Education Program, commonly known as DARE, and implementing it across the state. I was also responsible for the implementation and administration of the New York State Law Enforcement Accreditation Program, as well as the training standards for the Security Guard Act of 1992. In 1995, I retired from state service and was hired by Albany Medical Center as Director of Security Services. During my time there, I was promoted to Vice President, and after more than 24 years at AMC, I retired. As I close, there are a few additional things that I really need to say. To the New York State troopers that are here today, considering what's going on in the country at this time, there will be difficult days ahead. But always remember, trust in God, as in His time, He will straighten it out. Maintain your high standards and integrity. As you go through life, always remember to do your best and shoot for the moon, because if you miss, you will still be among the stars. And most of all, you have a legacy that was forged by 11 troopers of color that came before you. Again, to all of you, thank you so much for being here. God has blessed me with truly satisfying and extraordinary career, and I am so thankful and grateful, and I give Him all the praise and all the glory. Before I close, let me say, He also blessed me with a wonderful, beautiful wife, Fanny. You all have made this celebration about me, but I humbly make it about her. She has been right there with me in the good times and the bad times. When then Superintendent Don Chesworth called me and said he was promoting me to Major and Troop Commander of Troop G in Loudonville, I told him I would have to talk it over with my wife. Fanny was a deputy sheriff with the Erie County Sheriff Department with a job she loved and was happy with. We had just bought a new home, and she was very content and happy with our situation. And she was making it into a Fanny house. And that term came from her brothers and sisters, because in her house, everything had to be just so, in its own place. And those of you who visit us know that's so. And I definitely know it's so. So I was driving home from Canandaigua, and usually I would drive at trooper speed, and you troopers know what that means. But this time I was going below citizen speed because I was thinking, how was I going to tell her this as it would mean moving to Albany? And as we sat at dinner that night, I finally got up the nerve to tell her. And she asked me, "Where is Loudonville?" And I told her. So we discussed the pros and cons about accepting the promotion. And at what seemed like an eternity, she said to me, "You must accept the promotion. because you will, like all your other promotions, be the first person of color to hold that position in the state police. And it will open the doors for those who come after you. So she resigned her position with the sheriff department, and down the thruway we came. And for some reason, a bright rainbow followed us all the way down as we were driving here. She has been my rock, a steady influence, and my best friend throughout this journey. And in closing, I dedicate this to you, my loving wife. It is the lyrics It is the lyrics from a song made famous by Mittler that fits you so well. It must have been cold there in my shadow to never have sunlight on your face. You were content to let me shine because that's your way. You always walked a step behind. So I was the one with all the glory, while you were the one with all the strength. A beautiful face without a name for so long, a beautiful smile to hide the pain. Did you ever know that you're my hero and everything I would like to be? I flew higher than an eagle, for you were the wind beneath my wings. It might have appeared to go unnoticed, but I've got it right here in my heart. I want you to know I know the truth. Of course I know it. I would be nothing without you. Did you ever know that you're my hero? You're everything I wish I could be. I flew higher than an eagle, for you were the wind beneath my wings. Did I ever tell you you're my hero? You're everything, everything I wish I could be. I flew higher than an eagle, for you were the wind beneath my wings.
Wow. Wow. I am rarely speechless, but I am right now. A 20-year-old boy got a job in the sheriff's department in 1981. I was scared. And then I heard someone say, "Young man, I heard you were hired. Come here, sit down." She calmed my fears. I am Dr. Clem Harris today because this woman, 45 years ago, pulled me to the side and never left my side. I'd like to call to the podium Brody Mack and Jim Murray. Brody is a representative from the winter class of 1981, and James Murray is a representative from the spring class of 1981. Both have come graciously to represent their respective classes, for they were the first class to enter into the state police after the 1979 court decree. And Brody specifically represents himself as a hardcore throughway trooper who probably was the only trooper in Troop T, Superintendent, we may have to fact check this, to have served with distinction in all 4 zones. Mac made the BCI in 1998 and served 6 years in the SIU unit, first in organized crime and then in auto theft. He retired in 2004 and began work with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, of the U.S. Department of Transportation as a safety investigator, eventually becoming team leader and later division chief at the National Highway Safety Administration, where he manages programs at Import and Certification Division of the Enforcement Office. He traveled all the way from the nation's capital to be here. And as he and my good friend and brother, Jim Murray, present Staff Inspector Heritage, I would ask all my brothers and sisters, active and retired in the New York State Police, to please stand.
There's really nothing I can say that could add to what everybody said, but I will say this. I came in the winter class of 1981, and you were in the class before that, and we were the result of their hard work with the Justice Department. We were part of that 40%. And I can tell you, as a young 21-year-old goofy, chunky kid from the Bronx, to come into Albany, New York, and I mean the Bronx, so, you know, Yonkers was upstate, right? To come into the New York State Police Academy and get completely dazzled by everything going on, and then here was our criminal procedure law instructor, the lieutenant there, and we're like, whoa, they actually got black bosses here, whoa. And Willie Parker was one of the counselors, and he goes and grabs us by the arm and says, this guy's, he's one of the original guys on the job. You respect him like he's God. And we did. I still can't bring myself to call him John. It'll always be sir. But I want you to know all your hard work and everything you've done, here it is. There they are.
I'd just like to add, my first dealing with Inspector Heritage, I left the thruway and I was assigned to the Drug Enforcement Task Force in New York City in 1987, and around 88, I believe it was, I get a phone call, and it was Inspector Heritage. And my only regret was that he'd offered me a position in the master's program, Emeritus, and I turned it down. And I think about that to this day, and I say, man, I wish I had done that, but I really appreciate that offer. And, also, to his wife, every year about this time, they had the Black and Hispanic caucus, and all the black troopers from all over the state, we'd come into town and be like it was work, security detail, but it was a party too. And they always opened their house to us. Every year we would all get together, go to Mrs. Heritage's house, and it was a good time. And we thank you for that. And thank you, sir.
For the first two classes, and I had words, but y'all blew it up, so. But I know it's scary to think that I could stand on his shoulders. But I want to present this small token of our appreciation for all your service and good deeds. Thank you. And, it has a clock in there, so you always know what time it is, so.
John, would you like to make words?
Again, I just want to thank all of you for coming. And as I look out at the troopers that stood up, it brings a joy to my heart. It brings a joy to my heart to see all of you today. And I humbly thank you for coming and being a part of this ceremony today. And I just want to say that I was remiss a while ago. My grandson is here from Atlanta. He surprised me this morning. I didn't know he'd be here. But he works construction across the country, and they work in Syracuse? In Cortland, yeah, which is around Syracuse. And he made it his way to come up here and be with us today. And so, Ari, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Deacon Heritage, a hero for so incredible many generations, and to his beautiful bride, my godmother, who is soul personified. I have just a couple of closing remarks to make because we must put this in historical context and to understand what we have heard. I want to address two critical questions about today's climate as it pertains to affirmative action, equal opportunity, and DEI. And second, what lessons can be learned from teaching and thinking critically about Black history, especially the history of the long Black freedom struggle, including unresolved histories of slavery, Jim Crow, systemic racism, systemic sexism, and xenophobia, and the resurgence of which we see unfolding before our very eyes daily. First, when we look back at the 1954 Brown v. Board of Education decision 72 years ago, we seem to have come full circle. We've gone from legal discrimination to forced compliance with the signing of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the 1978 U.S. Supreme Court decision, Allen Bakke v. University of California at Davis, that ended racial quotas to voluntary diversity programs worth billions of dollars to many public institutions and I would dare say corporate behavior that shape public institutions and corporate behavior. One only has to look back at what's happening to Black folks today, especially Black women in the federal workforce, particularly in DC. In case you have not paid attention, Black people reached their highest point of employment during the Biden-Harris era. And by the spring of the Trump era, Black women were leading the demographics in unemployment. Black people have been forcibly degraded within the federal workforce, and so that you fully understand, the only time that this has ever happened in U.S. history was when Woodrow Wilson became president in 1912. And he ordered the federal service to be segregated. And he ordered Black people who had not before to identify themselves as Black. And then the purge began. One of the things that's really interesting is that we have been having the wrong debate, as a professional recruiter, Jenny Clark, reminds us. She said, for the longest time, we've been thinking about diversity programs versus merit, but the real debate, Clark argues, should be whether our evaluation systems measure merit over proximity to power. And to that point, existing leadership and access to networks and pedigree. DEI programs were created to address this problem, but they often became compliance theater, tracking demographics and winning training programs. Rather than reforming the bias systems that created unequitable outcomes, DEI programs which are presently being dismantled are disappearing rapidly, but the underlying problem systems that claim to be merit-based remain in place. This will likely return us to the pre-DEI status quo era, where bias systems produced unequal outcomes. Based on my historical analysis, Clark is absolutely correct. We are going back rapidly. To my second question about the importance of Black history. I want to take a moment here because so many of our young people don't know our history. For 35 years, I have come to this church every summer, no matter where I am in the world, to teach in Vacation Bible School. because I understand what Marcus Garvey said. A people who do not know their history is like a tree without roots. When the wind blows, they will go wherever the current goes. Culturally, there is a pressing need for a greater degree of empathy to combat the growth of implicit racism, sexism, xenophobia, and fascism. Contrary to ongoing marginalization of Black history and the banning of critical race theory and intersectional analysis, young people must be taught narratives that reveal the founding contributions provided by Africa, those within the African diaspora, and other communities of color to civilization and its ongoing progress. I want to disrupt just one more time, because that history also involves the often unheralded contributions of anti-racist white folk, which we don't often think about. But we did not get to this point without their contributions. This work must begin in our K through 12 educational systems and must be strongly supported in the American Academy. The work of Africana Studies is rooted in the reclamation and restoration of global Africa. It is also rooted in promoting the growth of historical consciousness. Historical consciousness, brothers and sisters, suggests that the more we are aware of histories of others, the less centric we become. As we become less centric through our historical knowledge, we become more intellectually mature. As we become more intellectually mature, we become more empathetic to those who are different than ourselves. If we can do that, perhaps we can truly become a global model of an advanced multiracial democracy, equity-based democracy for the 21st century. Failure to expand our historical consciousness will most certainly lead to a major erosion, if not the total abolition, of democracy. No one understood this better than W.E.B. Du Bois. In Black Reconstruction, published in 1935, Du Bois was deeply concerned about the American retrenchment to civil rights and the fragility of democracy. 1935, 96 years ago. Can I get an amen? He notes that the decade of Reconstruction from 1867 to 1877 ushered in a burgeoning Black civil society that included churches, primary and secondary schools, and the emergence of a Black political class committed to implementing universal social programs, not just for Black people, not just for brown people, for all people. Black history has never been about Black people. It's been about human rights. As he saw it, the central demands of the era were Black physical freedom, civil rights, economic opportunity, education, and the right to vote as a matter of sheer human justice and right. He observed that the vision for full equity was ultimately defeated by targeted campaigns of physical violence, economic exploitation, and the political neutering of Black Americans. We are living in that moment right now. American retrenchment to civil rights and the death of Reconstruction in the late 19th century was a key factor that led Du Bois at the dawn of the 20th century to declare, the problem of the 20th century is the problem of the color line, the relation of dark to lighter races of men in Asia and Africa and America and the islands of the sea. One might argue Du Bois's prophecy is as relevant today as it was more than 126 years ago. Folks, I wish to close on an uplifting note. I can be a little dark at times, but I live with a history of a people, and it troubles me to see the attack on a people who only stood for human rights. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, quote, "Human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. Even a superficial look at history reveals that no social advance rolls in on the wheels of inevitability." Every step toward the goal of justice requires sacrifice. It requires suffering and struggle, the tireless exertions and passionate concerns of dedicated individuals. Without persistent effort, time itself becomes an ally of the insurgent and primitive forces of irrational emotionalism and social destruction, which is exactly what Deacon Heritage said. King went on to say, this is no time for apathy or complacency. This is a time for vigorous and positive action. Finally, folks, in 1986, in his historical graphical essay, John Hope Franklin, the great black historian, argued that every generation of historians has the opportunity to write his own, her own history, and they are obligated to do so. Well, family, I'm here to tell you that if you are not engaging in the oral transmission of that history, if you're not discussing with your children their origins, if you are not providing for them the basis upon which they have a right to exist and thrive as any other human beings, you are relegating them to a vulnerability to which they will never fully overcome. History may be the study of the past, but it rarely has anything to do with the past. It always has to do with the present, and it lays the foundation for the future. Honor your history. Teach black children your history. And I'm going to give a plug for Macedonia Baptist Church. When the call comes out to support the children, y'all need to show up here. Thank you. We will now head back to the fellowship hall where Deacon Heritage will have an opportunity to receive all of your love, all of your warmth. And John, I just want to say it was an honor for all of us to do this for you, because one of the things that we wanted to do as we came together in D.C. 3 months ago was to ensure that you had your flowers while you were still here yet to see and appreciate them. Thank you.